The fact that there is a looming economic disaster is clear for all to see. Stories of impending doom litter the front pages of the newspapers, with war, inflation, stagnant growth, rising taxes and a tanking stock market all current issues. Those with money are seeing their investments implode. Those without money are seeing their lives implode.
Still to come are even higher energy prices, with energy bills set to rise by £800 in October at the next price cap review. Ofgem are even planning to review the price cap every 3 months going forwards from October, so we can expect a further huge hit to our home finances as early as January when homes are at their coldest. If nothing else gets there first, the hike in energy bills is sure to be the final blow that tips the country into a painful recession.
What can you do to survive and even to thrive during the upcoming recession? In this video, we'll be looking at all the things you need to do to get a grip on your household finances, how to come out the other side of a recession in a strong position, and we'll even be looking at how to profit from a recession. Let's check it out.
Right now, there are thousands of pounds worth of offers up for grabs on the Money Unshackled offers page, like multiple free shares, discounts on investing information services, and hundreds of pounds of free cash. It's regularly updated, so be sure to check out the new offers we've added for you. Now, let's get into the video.
The economic outlook is not good. There's a perfect storm of bad economic factors right now. These include inflation at 9% and rising. The worst hit areas are energy prices, as we've already mentioned, and food bills. The cost of feeding your family is expected to skyrocket further due to the war in Ukraine and global supply chain issues. Note that both energy and food are essentials and not things that can be easily cut back on to save money.
Stagnant growth. Not only do we have inflation, but we have stagflation. The economy is not growing, despite prices in the shops going up. You might feel this as your wage stays the same while everything else goes up.
A reverse of globalisation. A loss of trust between the UK and countries like China and Russia has led to a policy of protecting and nurturing our own resources, such as encouraging oil companies to invest in domestically sourced energy, while cutting off links with cheaper foreign supplies. There may be good national security reasons to do this, but it is pushing up your bills.
Ever rising taxes. The self-proclaimed low-tax Chancellor Rishi Sunak is presiding over the highest tax burden since World War II and recently broke his party's manifesto pledge by increasing national insurance taxes in your payslip. The NI rise wasn't even done to help pay for the lockdowns, but to protect the wealth of asset-rich pensioners. Expect to be stung by more tax rises to come as the government tries to pay for the fallout from its COVID policies. The energy windfall tax will hammer the oil companies that form part of everyone's pension funds, and the upcoming corporation tax rises will deal a blow to all UK businesses, lowering future pay rises for you and lowering dividends in your pension.
Stock market woes. A recession and stock market crash often come hand in hand, with the stock market often falling in anticipation of imminent economic turmoil. At time of filming, the S&P 500 is down around 15 to 20%, and bonds have not come to the rescue this time.
All of these issues point to a deep and painful period for households who will find that the higher prices in the shops are now baked in, even once the world starts to get back on course and inflation returns to something like 2%. You'll need to be in a stronger position coming out of the recession than you are now. How can you get there?
Number 1. Master your debts. One of the most unnecessary monthly bills is paying interest charges on a credit card or overdraft. If your situation is not yet desperate, then you should consider making an extra effort to clear these down now, before you find yourself having to choose between paying for electricity or defaulting on your credit card. More generally, you will want to keep your credit score squeaky clean throughout a recession, in case you are forced to borrow more to survive or need to approach your mortgage lender for help.
Number 2. Control your regular expenses. Energy bills are soon to be public enemy number 1, and with the cheapest deals being equal to the price cap, there is no way to lower your heating bill other than to turn down the thermostat. Even comfortable middle-class families who are used to a cosy 23 degrees will start to realise that the cost of this luxury is unsustainable, and more households will need to resort to jumpers and woolly hats once winter comes.
The other big regular expense is housing. If you can, consider the enormous savings you could make from living in a flat share or renting in a cheaper part of town. Flat shares may not be a realistic option for many people with families, or desirable for those above a certain age, but when needs must, you may have no other choice.
A more pain-free exercise is to review your smaller regular payments, things like TV packages, mobile phone contracts and broadband, and if you have debts, to refinance them to better rates. People always say to cut out lattes, but maybe first focus on the painless cuts, like switching your mobile contract to a cheaper provider. Saving a tenner a month on your phone bill won't negatively impact your quality of life, while cutting out coffees will.
Individually, those small regular monthly payments can seem like peanuts, a fiver here, a tenner there, but could add up to many hundreds of pounds over a year. One of the biggest improvements to your cash flow you could make as a homeowner is to change the length of your mortgage. Many people have a mortgage repayment term that is lower than the maximum 40 years.
In this example, having a 20-year mortgage term means you must pay the bank £1,664 per month, while if you switch to a 40-year term, you would only have to pay £1,074 per month, a saving of nearly £600 to your household budget. You could still feel free to make overpayments to keep your mortgage end date on track, but crucially, you wouldn't have to.
Number 3. Increase the size of your emergency fund. Even if you already have some cash set aside for a rainy day, maybe you should consider increasing that pot a bit by delaying big purchases like cars or home improvements and saving the cash instead. For instance, if you're thinking of moving house, maybe hold off for a little while. The stamp duty you pay when you move can be crippling. £10,000 on a 400 grand house. Keep that cash for your emergency fund instead until we've sailed past the recession.
Try to avoid keeping up with the Joneses and try to stop caring what others think about you. Your job is to thrive through this recession. If your friends and neighbours want to spend like mad and ignore the situation, then that's their problem. In March, the ONS revealed statistics that showed that nearly a third of adults could not afford an unexpected but necessary expense of £850. Those most at risk were renters and those on low incomes. Adults with a personal income of less than 20 grand a year had over 8 times higher odds of being unable to afford an unexpected expense than adults earning 50 grand or higher. If you don't have one, start an emergency fund so you could survive if you lost your job. A stash of £1,000 is a good place to start, and aim for enough to cover at least 3 months of expenses.
Number 4. Consider the jobs market. It's a job seekers market right now. Despite cooling a little, starting pay for new hires continues to rise at a near record pace, and the number of job placements being made are still growing at a stable rate. This comes at the same time as internal pay rises for existing employees are failing to keep pace with inflation, as companies struggle to meet their other cost obligations. All of this suggests that it may be a good time to consider switching role.
A way to beat inflation is to out-earn the inflation rate, which in practice means securing a take-home pay that is around 10% higher than what you are on currently. Certain industries, and therefore jobs, are more at danger in a recession and might be best avoided if possible.
These are known as cyclical industries, such as car manufacturing, whose products are typically luxury items and suffer greatly when people's disposable incomes dry up. If you have lost your job, while you apply for another job, you should also apply immediately for unemployment benefits and other public support programs. There is no shame in taking the benefits that you are entitled to when you need them.
Number 5. Upskill. More than just changing roles, you will likely benefit from reimagining your career, continuing to upskill and combining multiple skill sets to fashion a niche role for yourself that is invaluable to employers and so pays you a fortune. There are ways to upskill for free, such as the government-funded skills bootcamps, but the time commitment can be like having 2 jobs at once if you also need to earn money elsewhere while you study.
For most people struggling to make ends meet, we don't know how they'd find the time to do them, but suffering in order to upskill in the short term can reap huge rewards. If you are currently working in a low-skilled job, you may not have the bargaining power to request a decent pay rise, as these jobs are easily replaceable. You must learn a skill.
Number 6. Side hustles and second jobs. Where you can't increase your primary wage, you may consider getting a second job or a side hustle that pays out immediately, such as a Deliveroo or Uber driver. Some side hustles, such as starting an informational website for example, are not good options for immediate reward and can take years to cash flow, and so would be unlikely to help you fight through an imminent recession.
Other side hustles that pay money straight away include matched betting, for which we have guides and introductory offers on the Money Unshackled offers page. This is something that can be done for an hour or so a day from home and could pay you a few £100 a month. Having multiple streams of income other than just your main job means if the worst were to happen and you lose your job mid-recession, you at least have a few £100 coming in each month from other sources to hopefully avoid total disaster.
Number 7, sell your junk. What is old and unwanted to you may be treasure to someone else, and indeed that is what I have found recently when I moved home and sold a load of my old stuff on eBay. I made about £3,000, and this is money that otherwise would be sat in a shed or a loft in the form of old Lego, toys and trinkets. You might be surprised how much your stuff is worth.
Number 8, profiting from investing during a recession. As we've said, a stock market crash is not the same thing as a recession, but they tend to come hand in hand. The stock market is significantly down from the all-time high and may well fall further. First, some general advice for how to profit from this, and then we'll briefly tell you what we're doing.
No knee-jerk reactions. People stop investing out of fear, or worse, they sell when prices are down. Don't be one of them. Over time, portfolios representing the whole world have always recovered after a crash and gone on to new highs.
Some stocks are better positioned than others. Companies that deal with essentials like food and pharmaceuticals tend to do better in recessions. We're thinking of stocks like Unilever, Pfizer and McDonald's.
Property prices may also fall. If you want to invest in property, a recession-led pop in the housing bubble may be an opportunity worth looking out for.
Portfolio allocation. Historically, a portfolio that contains bonds as well as stocks tends to do better during downturns. That said, year to date in 2022, bonds have not been acting as expected and have been crashing alongside stocks. But more recently, the historic relationship has showed signs of normalising.
Stick to broad indexes. A crash is a good time to buy low, but some stocks may be priced low because they are companies on their way to bankruptcy or will never achieve the high profits that were once hoped for. Instead of buying individual stocks, drip feeding money into a stock market index, such as by buying into an S&P 500 ETF or World Tracker, is a far lower risk way to take advantage.
What we'll be doing. Since realistically, all of our spare cash will have been invested into the markets as we earned it, in the case of a larger crash we are unlikely to have a big pot of cash to hand ready to invest. For this reason and others, we would personally resort to leveraging other people's money to invest, such as by borrowing on margin to invest in index futures.
Check out this video next if you're interested in learning more about the strategy, but most people should not be using debt to invest due to the risks involved. Stick to buying simple index tracking funds when they are low and holding them for the long term, and you are very likely to thrive from this recession and come out swinging on the other side.
Question of the day. What worries you most about the impending recession? Join the conversation in the comments below.
Thanks for watching! On this channel we talk a lot about personal finance, investing and all things money, and if you want to see more great content, please click the subscribe button below.
This is moneyunshackled.com. See you next time.